Let me show you how you can connect n8n with Notion. Now, Notion, most people tend to use Notion for their documentation, also for creating their brand strategies, and it's also used in bunch of it can be used in different ways. But here, I'll be showing you how you can connect your Notion to n8n, and then also how you can also take, let's say, your brand identities about your business and how you can bring it into n8n. Now, let's get started. To do that, let's assume you already set up execution workflow. And then also, you also have a Notion node that has been added. In this Notion node, if you double click on it, you can specify your Notion account. If you do not have a Notion account, you can click on the plus sign to add your Notion account. Now, here, you can also specify your Notion URL. Also, the resources here is going to be block. Now, here, you can also specify a child block. You have to ask it to return all the content in your Notion as well. And you can also simplify the output. Now, let's check the Notion that we're trying to connect it to. And that is Notion. Now, let's say, for example, your company, which in this case, we are calling it New Company Brand Brief. Now, this is your company brand brief. This is the vision, the mission statement. Basically, all the key details about your company is showing up here, right? Now, you can actually see all this content. You want to move all this content into n8n, and you like to utilize it. Now, to do that, you specify your credential here. And the next thing you need to do is you need to add an aggregate. This aggregate, it tends to take the individual fields and aggregate it into one holistic data set that you can use. Now, if you click on execute, as you can see, it's able to bring in about 43 items, aggregate them into one single item that it can be used. If you click on Notion, you can see each section is able to aggregate them. Basically, almost like each block. Now, it's able to identify different blocks in your Notion, and is able to segment everything, aggregating everything. As you can see here, it says brand brief for a SaaS product, the vision, the mission, the key theme. Basically, every single thing about the business is able to simplify it and aggregate them into one holistic one. And the edit field, you can then turn all these different content segments. You can break it down into smaller chunks. You can harmonize everything into one single content, as you can see here. As you all know, Notion tends to regard its item as a block. That is how it is structured. As you can see, you click on this. This is one single block. This is another single block. And this is also another single block. But here, as you can see, you can bring in all the blocks together. You can aggregate them. And then you can bring them together into a single, you can join everything together as a single content here. Now, this is how you can connect your Notion with your n8n. Now, how can you join one agent and one workflow in n8n to another n8n workflow? Now, this n8n here that we have here is we call it the get brand brief. This actually takes content from Notion and it brings it into n8n. Now, this is one single workflow, right? We have different departments that's working in a company and they would like their agent to use one single document for different use case. Here, we already have covered the section where you can actually bring in your Notion into n8n. The next section is how can you use this brand brief, or how can different departments in the team or in an organization or in an agency actually utilize a single workflow and utilize it to suit their need. In this case here, how can we take the brand brief, pass it into OpenAI, and then utilize, make OpenAI to make some informed decision. What you need to do to set it up, you set execution, you bring in the workflow that you like to use. What is the source? The source is going to be from database, which is your n8n database, and then from which workflow you specify the workflow of your choice. In this case here, it is the brand brief workflow. Then you close that, and or you can also execute it. As you can see, it's able to bring in all the content in that workflow. Based on what you see here, view sub execution. If you click on this, it's going to show you the execution that it actually ran. Now, as you can see, it's going to show you the workflow that it actually ran when that workflow was triggered. Now, back to this. The next thing we need to do is we need to pass it into OpenAI. Here, the first thing you want to do is you can add your OpenAI node. Once your node has been added, you double click on this. The first thing you need to do is specify the credential of OpenAI you would like to use. If you do not have any credential, you can create your OpenAI credential. But in this case here, we want to use this OpenAI account. Once you have specified that, the resources is what is a text. And also the message, a model. You want to message a model. Now from the list, you want to specify the model of your choice. In this case, we are doing GPT 4o mini. Then in your prompt, you have to make your prompt to actually know what you need to do. Here you are telling your model that, hey, you're a professional content writer, create 10 topic suggestions that align with the topic provided, brand brief. So this simply means you are telling your agent that, hey, my agent, what I want you to do is give me 10 topics and make sure it aligns with the brand brief. Where is the brand brief? The brand brief is basically the Notion document that the previous agent, that the previous workflow actually consumed. Now, the JSON output format. Now you are instructing it to give you the response back in this format. Brand brief. Now you specify the brand brief here, as you can see. Now the result is going to be something like this, where it's going to be. Remember, we already have the brand brief information from where? From Notion. And while we're able to obtain it from Notion, from a sub agent, sub workflow that actually ran. The sub workflow ran and is able to pass it onto this section here. As you can see, json.content, which is this. Then on the right hand side, you can see a preview of what is going to be executed. Once you click on this, now that is your prompt. Now your prompt, the role, you specify it as the what? The user. Then here is simplify output. Also output content as JSON. Now, if you click on execute here, one thing you also notice is you notice that the job actually ran. Now here, if you click on execute step, now what is going to happen here is your OpenAI and the model that you specify is going to generate what was expected, what was requested. And as you can see, it's able to generate a 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 content. And in total, that's 10. As you can see, these are the suggestions. Create a post about the lean startup methodology and how small businesses can validate ideas without breaking the bank. It also gives another topic, explore the importance of early customer feedback and how it can guide subsequent product iteration. So you can basically specify different, it's going to give you different topics that you can choose from. And guess what? This is your company's content strategies, giving you different suggestions of what you can actually write content on. Now, let's proceed. The next thing you want to do is you want to also pass to the field. You click on this field, and this field, what it does is it's going to do some manual mapping and it's going to harmonize those suggestions. And to do that, you specify the mode. And before that, make sure you select the manual the edit field. You add it to the node. To this node, if you double click on this, you configure it to be manual. And then you specify it to be an array, and you specify how you want the array to be structured. And then you can test it by clicking on what? By clicking on execute step, which is at the top. If you click on that, as you can see, it is able to structure it properly here. And remember what we had before here, this is how it looks, right? Now you're able to structure it properly to look something more readable. Now, this is how you can connect, you take the response from a different workflow, bring it into another workflow, and then pass it into your AI agent to come up with different methodology. Here, what we just did is basically get different content ideas by taking the data directly from Notion. And when we obtain the company's brand details from Notion, we're able to pass it into our OpenAI model, in this case, our agent. And guess what? We're able to get different topics. Now let's run this workflow without going through each node. Now, as you can see, it's able to come up with different content here. Once you click on this, you get the output. As you can see, now it's able to create a whole different topics entirely from what we saw earlier, which is create a post about the top 5 lean strategies for launching your first SaaS product without breaking the bank. Now let's close this. And this is how you can generate content ideas and then also linking it to a different workflow, and let the AI agent generate different topics for you by reading your company's brand details. Now, the next thing we want to do is how can you actually take the response from a previous workflow, or that is a workflow that was completed by an agent? How can you bring it into a different workflow and then let the AI agent critique the work, basically by giving you feedback. Now, for you to do that, you can click create the execution of workflow, which is your trigger, and link it to existing workflow, and then pass it to OpenAI and then specify the model. Here, what is essential is, as you already know, you have to specify your account, you have to create your account, you have to select the resource text. If you're trying to figure out how to create your credential, you can check some of my previous videos on how you can do that. Also, you can specify resources is text, the operation is message a model, and then the model, you can specify the model of your choice. Now, this is where it gets interesting. You have to prompt it properly. Here, you are saying that you are tasked with evaluating a piece of content written for a SaaS product. You basically prompt it properly and give it the instruction of your choice. Now, once that is done, you specify the role as system. And then the prompt that you specify is when executed by another workflow. Then you give it all this instruction. Now, guess what? You can test it by clicking on execute steps. Now, what this is going to do is it's going to run the previous step, and then it's going to give you a feedback about what was done, and just give it a rating of is 0.7. That is the score that it gives, and it's done is what is done. Then you can also edit the field. You can specify the manual mapping, harmonize the string, and you click on execute workflow. The post, and it gives you a feedback that says the post demonstrates alignment with the brand brief by focusing on actionable insights and encouraging early product launches, but lack specific engaging elements that can resonate deeply with the target audience. And the score is what? Is 0.7. So it gives you the reason why it actually gives it 0.7. And this is how you can create a content feedback for your agent in your workflow. Now, this is how you link it, you give it a feedback, and you get a response. Now, let me show you how you can actually create an agent engine that actually take content, review your brand brief, get the feedback from it, and then also grade its own feedback. Now, what I'm going to be showing you is how you can actually orchestrate the entire flow. The AI is going to generate content by itself. It's going to rate it. It's going to assign it to a different agent to give it feedback. It's going to tell you that, okay, is it good? If the feedback is good, then it's going to determine if it should post the content or not. This ensures that your brand strategy or a set of instruction that your company have, it aligns with what the agent is actually setting out to do. Here, as you can see in this workflow that is showing, when you click on this workflow, you could also schedule this workflow. The first thing it's going to do is it's going to generate an idea. Now, how is it generating an idea? There's a separate workflow that basically generates the idea, right? And then that was a workflow here, which in this workflow that generates ideas. This also workflow also gets information from a different brand, and the brand is in Notion, a Notion document that contains your company's brand brief, and it is being ingested by an agent workflow that basically ingests the content in your Notion document. It's able to bring it all the information into n8n, and then the ideas get ingested and is being sent to an agent. This agent consumes it, and then another agent gives it a feedback if it is good or if it needs to be worked on. Now, that is where this get content ideas comes in. Now, the entire response actually gets spit out, and also it creates 10 different ideas. Those 10 different ideas came from the idea content generation here, which is it was instructed to give how many ideas? 10 here. You can actually increase this idea to, let's say, 5. 5 ideas will be generated. Now let's close this. Now, if you go back to your content generator, as you can see, it says 10, right? Now it has been updated to 5. The next one here is iteration through every single content. Now, your agent is going to look through every single content and determine which one is good, which one needs some work. Now, here we have our edit field. Your content get passed into the AI agent, and this AI agent is attached to an OpenAI chat model. It's also attached to a simple memory. Also, the brand brief. Now, what this does is doing a bunch of stuff. Now, connected chat trigger node. That's the source prompt. And the next thing it's doing is the chat input. The chat input is the first thing it does is, hey, I want you to create a post about the importance of validating your startup idea before launching and share method to gather early feedback from potential customers. Now, what this is doing here is basically explaining that, oh, this is the first content that he was able to obtain. And then when he obtained this content, what is he doing? What he's doing is that he's sending it to this AI agent, and this AI agent is going to review it. Now, this is the prompt, the system prompt. The system prompt is very essential. Now, here, as you can see, you're saying that you're a helpful content creator for new company's product brand. And basically, you're just giving it like, always start by getting the brand brief using the get brand brief brand tool aligned with a post on this request topic that aligns with the brand brief. And then you're giving a set of instructions that says get the brand brief, score it, and create a step 2 by using the get content feedback tool. If the score is below 0.8, use the feedback from step 3. You're basically giving this set of instruction that is going to follow. Think of it as you have a marketing team on your team or a social media team, and you task them to do some certain task, and you have to grade them. Grade the idea. Does your idea or does their idea aligns with the company's brand or the company's policy? So now an agent is able to identify all these instructions and is able to clearly map out which of these ideas that the agent or a previous agent generate, does it align with the company's brand ideology or does it not? And then the final output should be approved on the post. Now, and be approved for posting. So whichever content ideas get approved will get posted. So that is the whole idea behind this system message there. Now on the right hand side, you can see that it's able to say that this post perfectly matches the brand essence and strategies. The post is excellent. So here is the final post. Then it's going to come up with a whole different post entirely that aligns with the company's brand identity strategies. Now let's proceed. Now let's go back. Now, the next thing here you can see is it's able to connect to a OpenAI chat model. This model here is this is the model that is being used. This is a trained model. You can check out my previous video for how to train your model. Now, this model consumes the message and is able to give out an output. And you can also see the completion token, the prompt token, the total token. You can get all the information here. Also, it also attached a simple memory. Why? Because you want your AI agent to have a memory of a previous task. You need to have an idea of the next task. And then based on the memory, then it's going to decide which content is good, which content is bad, which content was previously approved, and which content needs to be approved. The other one here is the get brand brief. Remember from the instruction that was shown here, we actually instructed the agent to also get the brand brief tool. Now it's using it as a tool, get the brand brief information to use that to determine its action here. Also, get content feedback here is also mentioned in the system message as well, where it needs to know the feedback. Oh, if it grabs the content before it approves it and posts it or come up with its own structure, it also needs to get the feedback as well. That is why that is coming here. Then once it's done and is able to review all the content that needs to go out, then guess what? It's going to send it to OpenAI and for the content to be properly drafted to make sure it aligns with the vision of the company or the company's brand or whatever was added to Notion. Here, you give an instruction. Based on the following articles, I need you to create a social media post for X, Instagram, LinkedIn, Google. Each post needs to be tailored to individual platform. Provide the output in a separate action for each platform. Now, this is very essential. It's very essential for you to specify this. Why? Because every single social media platform have their own content structure. Facebook content structure is different from Twitter. Twitter is different from Instagram. Instagram is different from LinkedIn. LinkedIn is different from Reddit. So this is very essential for you. And you can also give an example of how you want it to be structured here by giving it an example. Key point to consider, for example, in Facebook, assume the role of a knowledgeable Facebook expert in AI automation. You'll be given a summary article for your task, and you can basically just go down the list here. You can also give it an example. Now you can structure the prompt however you want. You can also, and then you specify that the output should be simplified. Output content as JSON. And let's close this. Let's expand this. Let's come to the right hand side, and then you click on trigger workflow. Now what's going to happen here is the ideation, the content, the strategies, everything is being considered at this point. And one thing you should notice is now it's going to start thinking through each topics. Now your agent is basically performing the job of a social media person who is thinking through every single content is consuming and is giving a feedback if it is good or if it is bad, if it needs to go out, does it align with the company brands, does it align with the company's brand details, does it deviate with the company's brand, what needs to be improved, is it 10 star rating or a 2-star rating. And once it's done, it's also going to tailor it along with different social media platforms based on what was set up. Now, it's very essential for us to understand that Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, they have different structure when it comes to their posting. So whenever you're specifying how you want the message to be structured, it's essential for you to know the structure of this platform. Now, that being said, as you can see, the job is done. Now, the response, everything stays inside this workflow here. Now, the next thing we need to do is we need to get our message out. To do that, you need to connect your workflow to your respective social media accounts. Now, the next thing is how can your n8n workflow post to social media, your social media network, your preferred social media network to be precise. Now, here, as you can see, we have a prompt here that actually was told to prompt to different social media network here. Now, it says, based on the following article summary, I need you to create a social media post for Facebook, X, Instagram, LinkedIn, Google Business. Let's fix that. And Google Business. Each post needs to be tailored to individual platform. Provide the output in separate section for each platform. And also an example was given. So, but let's dive into what needs to be done. What needs to be done is the agent needs to post to their respective social media environment. Now, to do that, it's very essential for us to understand the coding structure. On LinkedIn, it's highly essential or encouraged for you to also add a picture to your post on LinkedIn. So in this case, we'll be adding a generative image here, and then we'll be connecting it to this. So that simply means in order to post to LinkedIn, we need to generate an image. Once the image has been generated, then it's going to post it along with the article. To do that, let me click on this. We connect it to our OpenAI account. The source is image. We would like to generate an image, not audio, not the text, not the file, an image. And then operation is generate an image. The model of our choice is DALL-E 3. And then the prompt that was given is create an image of this dimension pixel based on the summary of this. So that simply means the summary of the post must align with what? With the image that will be generated. That ensures that the image aligns with the content itself. Now let's click on this. As you can see, there are different message contexts that was produced previously from the previous run. Facebook, you see this is the content here, and these are the hashtags that was given. For X, you can see X is shorter compared to Facebook. Why? Due to the text limitation on X. And also on Instagram, you can see Instagram has different emojis. It has Instagram style of content. And then for LinkedIn, it is LinkedIn. It has more content compared to the previous. And then also for Google Business, it also has this. Now for this section here, we want to link it to LinkedIn. So message content, LinkedIn content, not posts. Okay. Now, as you can see, it's going to be connected to this. Alternatively, if you want to eliminate the whole coding thing I just did, you could easily just click on this, drag it, drop it here, and then you're good. That's all you need to do. You need to learn how to code. And then if you click on execute step, what is going to happen is it's going to try and generate an image. And then once the image has been generated, we're going to wait for the output and we can use it and attach it to our LinkedIn. Now it said bad request, we need to check our parameter. Bad request, check a parameter. Here, we need to check our parameter and then we need to make sure that we're using the right parameter. Oh, okay. LinkedIn post. We change it to content. Let's change it back to post. Now let's click on execute. Now, when that was clicked, what is happening is basically it's going to execute previous nodes and it's going to try and generate the image, but then it needs to be able to get the right information before it can get the right output for you. Now, as you can see, it's able to go through the entire flow of event and it has been selected here and this needs to be updated. Here it says check your parameter, and what's happening here is it seems it's jumping between post and content. Now here, let's make it much easier. Let's just grab the particular LinkedIn. Let's grab the LinkedIn post here. And temporarily, we're going to pass it here. Then let's click on execute. Oh, okay. To test in isolation, let's stop the flow. Let's disconnect this. Let's double click on that. Let's click on step. You have to check our parameter, and then we check our parameter. Response format. Let's go to settings. Now let us link that with our click trigger. Now this is also good for you to understand that you can also troubleshoot n8n workflow as well. Now let's remove this. Let's trigger our workflow from here. Now I'm going to show you how you can actually connect your workflow, the content that was generated, and how you can connect it to your social media account. Now, after you're done setting up your workflow, remember LinkedIn require you to have it's encouraged for LinkedIn posts to have an image. So what you can do is you can click on OpenAI and then you can specify your account, image, generate an image, specify the model, and give it a sense of instruction here. Now, this instruction here, you can also link it to previous task that was completed. But for the sake of this video, I would just like to show you how you can connect them. Now, here we have a section here where you can actually search for Google Business. And you can bring your Google Business, you can bring it right here, as you already see, and then you can link it to your n8n, to your OpenAI model message response. And then for your X, you can also link it to this. And then for Facebook, you can also link it. Now, in terms of LinkedIn, you have to generate an image and then you can link it to LinkedIn. Then you can pass the response here directly. Now, how do you link it? To do that, you have to go to your Google Business. If you have a Google Business credential, click on plus and you can connect your Google Business credential, client ID and your secret ID. Once that is done, let me close it. Close. Once that is done, you can specify this output here. Now for your Google Business, in order for you to post, just leave it this the way it is. And then for your X post, what you need to do is connect this to your X account, and in the resource it will be tweet, because you like to tweet, not read a direct message or list or users. You like to tweet. The operation is you like to create a tweet, and then you pass in, and you leave this here. The content is here, which is json.message.content.x, and this sends the post directly to Twitter. And for Facebook, all you have to do is just once again set up your credential, the host URL, you leave it the way it is, and then the json.message.content of Facebook, it automatically posts to Facebook. You can also decide to ignore SSL. And the last bit here is LinkedIn. The LinkedIn follow the same approach, which is specify your credential, the source. Resource is post you want to create. Post as what? As a person or as an organization. Here you want to post as a person, or you could decide to post as an organization. For organization, you have to specify organization URL. Then for post, you don't need to specify that. However, I say there's an issue probably loading parameter. That's because you haven't specified, or you haven't connected your LinkedIn account here. And then media image, media category image, input binary field, and data goes here. Now this is how you're going to, once you connect to your account, right? And what's going to happen is the whole flow is going to be orchestrated from a trigger, and then you should have your n8n workflow being triggered here, and then the entire flow should go through the process of posting, ideation, reviewing the content feedback by itself, and then once the content feedback aligns, then it's going to post it in your social media account. And this is how you can automate your social media posting by creating an entire team of n8n agentic process or workflow that reads directly from your Notion and posts the content directly to your connected social media account.